Hello and welcome. It's Japan, and we have another episode of Evolve here. Honestly, a pretty solid one without going too much into it yet. We knew we were going to have the title match, so we knew there was going to be a hard carry with that. But overall, I mean, I'm going to say this is pretty exciting altogether. So let's just start with the six-man tag match. Big. I don't know. It's like a really big decision when you have like a new faction to put them together in for the like a match like this. But I obviously think in this case it definitely worked. But this might be by far the best match that we've seen in at least like 40 episodes. Like I could really put this on par to some of the ones that we saw in the very beginning that I would still cover as being the best of the just pure wrestling of the matches. I think all six men did some really crazy stuff. Obviously the team baby faces I think stood a little bit further out because Moreno, like, out of the three on that side, probably had the least amount of times we've seen him. I've seen him a lot in Europe and stuff, but he really got to show a lot of crazy stuff. Obviously, Starboy has been stellar since he's been here, and Cappuccino Jones has been just amazing since the very first episode. So made it easy. On the heel side of things, we obviously Jakari Ball and Santi Rivera have seen very little. Max Abrams, we've seen decent chunks, so it wasn't like anything too crazy. But I do feel like his moveset with being a heel worked a lot better. Not that I feel like his babyface stuff wasn't necessarily what I connected, but it just really felt like he was his gimmick, everything shouted that he was a heel, and I think the moveset now really feels that it's the complete package of that. This is an S tier match. I mean, it's just probably one of the best matches that has ever came across Evolve. I'd say top five at least. I would have to watch them, back to back to back and stuff, but I'd put this up to a lot of the stuff that was in episode 1 and I think 3. I think that those were the majority of the big matches, and obviously we've had title matches and stuff like that have really gotten up there, but this one by far was that fan, and it really felt like they packed everything they could into this. Obviously the heels, won, but it was in a good way where it protected everybody, and wasn't like super crazy interference. Its Skull came down there to knock out the extra member of the heel team, and obviously that furthers their stuff if they wanted to do that. I was like kind of surprised that like they didn't just add him to this match. Like he kind of felt more natural than Cappuccino Jones in there, but I obviously think that it was fine to do this because this match was great. I think Abrams, his gimmick in general, I feel like fits better for this. I don't really particularly like it, but I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing. It really made no sense as a babyface, but as a heel, it's doing him pretty good. And overall, I think this faction's got some pretty good heat so far. I think they just really need to, I don't know, maybe be a little bit more cocky and arrogant. I know Abrams is kind of playing that like cowardly heel, and I think the rest of his group isn't like that. So either they need to buff up, like the other two are kind of more of his muscle, and he's the main guy, like he's kind of going with. I think that would be best for him. But overall, put the faction type thing going up into B right now. Then we had it was just supposed to be Aaron Rourke talking, and then all hell broke loose. With a bunch of people coming down. Now, I really wanted to talk about this segment because we'll talk about the match that it spawns as a fatal four-way for the number one contender fin. But why do they have Tay Wilder down there? Nothing against him because I've been enjoying his character, but they were like, you and you are in a match. And he just kind of was running around like, I kind of need to be in that match too. It just kind of felt weird, but I had to put this as its own segment because it's just crazy. I'll put it in B. It's a good way to kind of build up some rivalries and build up a bunch of characters. Now we get to the match. This actually is one of those things where like I'm excited for this match, but also not, because it's a fatal four-way. I think the match is going to be great, but all four of them are kind of already on NXT now. Except for Brooks Jensen against, and that's who I'm assuming is going to win this. I think Brooks wins this because it makes the most sense, because Cam Hendricks has been already working angles in NXT, attacking people and stuff, so like they would not want to, why put him on both. Dorian, I think, could be 50-50. He's had a match up there, but it definitely seems like, between NXT and AAA, they're kind of really wanting to use him. And then Tristan Angles has already had some like promos up there, and even mentioned in the tweet to promote this match that he's going to bring the title to Tuesday nights, which I just don't understand that premise, but it's fine. But like, I think this match will cook, but I do believe that it should be Brooks Jensen. I think it also makes sense because he's been around for a little bit and had some in and out of areas being in the main event, but I think he's a good heel to put in front of Aaron Rourke, especially if Rourke's going to retain, because, you know, they have to be established stars to build up his, you know, his title reign. So I'm excited to see it, but I do feel like it feels like there's not many options really to win. I mean, obviously any of them could, because the thing's filmed behind, and there's, you know, no reason that they can't just be a number one contender even if they are on NXT. But I feel like it's kind of a waste not to give an opportunity to somebody who's actually going to be in Evolve. And I think Brooks Jensen, out of these four, the only one that's probably going to have, you know, within a month from now, still be on this show. So I'll put it up at A, because it's still going to be a good match. Then, because, you know, Tate Wilder did not get added to this match, and he had, you know, Cam Hendricks was down there with, you know, Jax Presley. Was it Jax? Was it Riggs? No, it was Riggs. God, I honestly always get them confused. They threw those two in a match. Tate Wilder honestly did great. Like, both of them just absolutely had some great in-ring chemistry. Tate Wilder's gone above and beyond. He turned that, like, I got this crappy gimmick, I'm going to go out there and just be myself, to just, that's basically who he is. He's just kind of a good guy and wrestles, you know, a lot better than he did in those first couple matches. And I think he's progressively getting better. He has an NXT match. I think he's probably gone and Evolve. I think this was kind of, I would not be surprised if this is his last match. Him and Cam Hendricks might have one more match to finish off their rivalry, like if they have the time to, but I really do believe that this might be his last match. And yeah, no more Tate Wilder, hate. I mean, I like I said, I hated on what they were doing to him and less about who he is. And he's, you know, gone above and beyond. This match was solid B. It was entertaining. I did think it had some really good spots in it. Both of them are really good. I honestly, I'm gonna put it up in A. I'm gonna slide it up a little bit more. I think it was actually a pretty good match. Then we have some backstage stuff, trying to build up this women's division with Nikita Lyons and Sloane Jacobs hanging out, and then kind of Carmen being like, "What are you guys doing?" and picking on them. Kind of, I think, keeping Carmen more of a baby face, which definitely helps, and it's good for later on in the show. Overall, I think having like the two heels type here, it's been great. I think both of them could really work well together, and I think naturally the progression is to have a tag match soon, especially after we talk about the main event. So yeah, I think the division's, you know, slowly rebuilding, and I think that's why you had Wendy Chu in there, because she's so established that she doesn't need to have that crazy one-off rivalry with people. She could just have some storyline, have some matches, and it's going to be A-okay, and that's exactly what she's showing. Yeah, put this in B, solid segment. Then we get to the match. Lady Luck, this was 100% her best match, like, that she's had so far. Wendy Chu definitely, you know, put her into, like, you know, it really felt like she dragged her to her level, and it worked really good between each other. It ended up in a DQ, which isn't the greatest, because it would be nice for her to maybe have won and then got attacked. I get what they were trying to do, because it kind of protects everybody and allows stuff, but it would have been nice for Wendy Chu to get that first defense successfully down. But I thought the match was very entertaining for the time that they had. They really did give them a decent chunk of time, and it was looking good. Obviously, you knew something was going to happen, or it was going to be a quick ending, because you could see how much time is left on the show. So overall, I thought it was a decent idea of what they're building, but I definitely think they could have maybe just let Wendy just win and then had the same effect. I'll put it in a solid B. And then after the show, or after or during the match, why did I say after the match? Sloane Jacobs and Nikita Lyons attack, knock both of them out, and then Carmen Petrovich has to come in for the save. I do like that they added Carmen in there. I do feel like it's kind of an odd number, so it's going to be a little bit more, I think, difficult to get through everything. They could possibly do Lady Luck and Carmen versus those two if they wanted to kind of keep Wendy Chu. I really do think she should be involved in something. Even if it's like a special guest referee, that could be possibly something. I mean, you would think that she would be biased, so they might not do that angle, but it could be she's like, well, I'm just going to call it down the middle, and then that could get the baby faces also mad at her, and it kind of heats up a bunch of feuds at once. So something like that could be really good. So I'm going to put up an A. I think overall the show was a solid A. I really had no complaints. Everything on it was entertaining. I really, didn't. It's like anything I didn't like was just more of the decision making thing and not the actual execution of it. So that's always a really good show, and that match was just really good. If you're wanting a good Evolve match, it's definitely one to watch because I would definitely say it's a top 5 match, and everybody looked great in it. So if you guys are enjoying this, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. I will also be doing my Backlash predictions today too. So if you want to check out that video, it should be up on the channel. Either an hour after this video or already up. So until next time, this has been Japan. Bye, guys.